Good evening, Mr. Shaw. How are you?
I'm getting ready for my big day tomorrow.
A big day. Aren't all
Yep.
your days big?
Not as big as tomorrow. Tomorrow I got a 20 to 24-hour shift.
Excuse me?
Yep,
How are you?
that's right.
How are you going to survive? Whew, that's a lot. Well, you think about yourself too.
Yep,
That
I will when I'm sleeping all day Friday.
so you don't have to go in but that time?
I'll be in at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm getting done anywhere between 3 and 6 a.m. on Friday.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I will say a prayer for your stability and ability to endure that. That's like a challenge.
Oh yeah, we've already game planned our day for tomorrow, so we have a pretty good game plan for tomorrow, so we should be good to go.
I don't think I could
So
do it. I could not do that. Not no, not at that length of time. I can do
yeah,
a little bit, but not like that.
we uh we 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 we're pretty good at figuring how to pace ourselves when we got days coming up like that, so we should be all right.
Okay.
But so we got all the hard stuff done. It's an easy day in the morning, and then the afternoon we'll slowly ramp down until about 3:30. Then we'll go
Mhm.
get something to eat, and then we'll ramp back up at 5 o'clock because it's time to go. And
Wait a
that's when the
minute. But 5 o'clock. Oh, okay.
that's
So
when
it's
concrete comes.
in the morning
Con-
or at
no,
night?
5 o'clock at night we start pouring concrete, and
Phew.
we'll probably be going until probably about 3 in the morning with pouring concrete. Then we got to do the cleanup, and yeah,
No, I'm good. I'm good early in the morning, 4, and I have like a low around 3. Then I bounce back around 6:37. But 24 hours, I would be drinking my Pepsi and eating my chocolate just for the energy.
Yeah, what I'm afraid of is I won't be able to go to sleep when I get home.
That could be true. I like
My-
if I'm having problems sleeping, I usually do a sea salt bath so that it relaxes me and put me to sleep.
yeah, I have no idea how I'm going to do this because most I've stayed awake is 4 days.
4 days straight,
Yeah,
4 days?
yeah.
No, 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 no. By the
You got to
fourth day,
remember,
I've been.
I was in the military, so
But weren't you a lot younger?
yeah, it was about what 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm. See?
But I still can do it.
Yeah, you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything you want. Just
It's
your
all,
mind.
it's all, yep, it's all about pacing yourself.
Well, that's a challenge. You text me and say I'm okay on Saturday. Yeah,
You
okay.
got it. You
Yeah, because
got it.
that's a challenge. That's really a challenge. So I have a girlfriend that is doing some crazy thing, some competition where she has to get a certain number of votes and
Hmm.
it's to win. It's like, what do you call that stuff? Um, she runs up hills and she carries 100 to 200 pounds and other stuff she does.
Like the Iron Man, like
That's it. Yes.
yeah.
So she's doing that. But in order to advance yourself, you have to have the votes. And
Hmm.
the gift is she could win a trip. And I want her to win because her daughter has some health issues, but she's a real trooper. So she wants to take everyone on vacation, the four of them.
Oh wow, that's great.
Hmm. I saw her doing some. I went over her house and she was doing chin lifts on electric. The garage that opens up by electric. I said,
Uh-huh.
are you crazy? And when you look at her, you say you can't be that strong, and she is. She is. So it's amazing.
Wow, that's great. I hope she succeeds.
Yes. So we have till tomorrow. So I hope she's not moved out of fourth place yet.
Oh well.
Good
Hello, everyone.
evening. Good
Hi,
evening,
Miss
Miss
Dredden.
Gray. So I'm drinking my Pepsi now. Good evening, Mr. Long.
Hey, everybody except Mr. Shaw.
Hey, Mr. Long.
How you doing, bud?
Good, good, good.
Hello, Mr. Long.
Hi, Miss Dredden. How are you?
Fine.
Nice to see you. Ready to see everybody in person.
But in September,
Yep. Hope so, right?
yes.
Miss Dredden, did your son get back to San Antonio?
No, he was earlier. He was in Tennessee.
What is that, a 24-hour ride?
Oh, from San Antonio? I don't know. I think it's longer.
Whew.
But they stopped over. They stayed over last night, and then they said while we were in Tennessee, it was a lot to see. They went to do a little sightseeing,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then I think he said he had 4 or 5 hours. Would be out of Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know where they're at right now. I just know
Good
they said
evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mrs. Pitts.
Good
How's
evening.
everyone?
Very good.
Good, good.
So Mrs. Dredden, my sister and her daughter's family, they're driving starting Saturday to New Jersey from outside of Dallas by way of South Carolina and Myrtle Beach.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
How long will it take them to get here, Julie?
I think 20 hours.
20? Oh,
But she doesn't worry because she doesn't do any driving. She just sits back and give orders.
Oh,
Backseat drivers.
oh, I see.
I had an aunt that was a backseat driver. I actually turned the inside dash lights off so she couldn't see how fast I was going. Anything, even the speed limit, she was afraid of.
Oh,
She was the
I
type, yeah.
catched a little feedback, folks. I don't know about everybody else.
I only hear from you.
okay. I'm hearing an echo also. Should we mute? Are we muted?
No.
Oh,
I was muted. I muted myself. I see John Shaw. He's muted.
okay. Good evening, Ms. McClendon.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, good
Good evening.
Good evening.
Meeting,
Good
Mr.
evening.
evening.
I was almost thrown off with the new update to the WebEx. It was different from the norm, and I was just like, okay, well, what is this? Am I in the right application?
Fancy looking icon now.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 628. Is that correct? 628?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes. Good evening, Ms. Boyle. Mr. Blake, Dr. Poteet. I think we're just waiting for Ms. Martin.
Good evening. I was on mute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Blake.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Ms. Martin, you said you were on mute? But I don't, oh, there you are, okay.
Good evening, everyone.
There you
More
are.
yet.
Good evening.
I think we fixed our echo for our IT department. Thank you very much.
Good. Ms. Kelly, Ms. Kelly Thomas has informed me certainly she's with us, but for the beginning, she'll have to just remain in her block, but she is with us. You're here, Ms. Thomas?
I'm here. Good evening.
Yes. Mhm. Okay, Ms. Moore. Just waiting for Ms. Moore.
Madam President, I still hear an echo. I don't know if anybody else still hears it, but I hear an echo, even though everybody's on mute.
You're hearing an echo? Is everybody on mute?
I apologize. I'm here. I'm trying to get in through my laptop, but I'm on my phone at the moment.
Okay, good. Good evening, Ms. Moore.
Good evening.
It sounds better now, Madam President.
Sounds better? Okay. So if we were all synchronized, I have 6:30. So therefore, here we go. Lights, cameras, action. Excuse me. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Winslow Township community, board members, administration, and our solicitor, Mr. Long. Welcome to the Winslow Township Board of Education's regularly scheduled meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. Public notice of this meeting was given to all board members and associates, and notices dated February February 1st, 2021. Adequate and electronic notice of this public meeting has been provided, specifying the time, place, and manner in which this meeting is being conducted. It was advertised in the Courier Post, posted in all schools, the administration office, the municipal building, the library, the Bud Dubel Center, Edgewood Acres, Elmtown, and the Winslow Township Post Office. And this is our mission statement. The mission of the Winslow Township School District, a large, diverse, and growing community, is to educate all of our students to become independent, lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and caring and confident members of our community. The district, in partnership with the community and in a climate of cooperation and mutual respect, will provide an academic environment which values excellence and diversity, encourages our students to strive for personal excellence, and assist them in acquiring the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to contribute positively to a rapidly changing world. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Present.
Ms. Dredden,
Here.
Ms. Martin,
Present.
Ms. McClendon,
Present.
Ms. Moore,
Present.
Mr. Shaw,
Present.
Ms. Thomas,
Present.
Ms. Peterson,
Present.
and Ms. Pitts.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Bull. Now at this time, may we just take a few minutes and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Blake, would you care to read our 2020-2021 district goals, please?
Sure can. 2020-2021 district goals. Number 1, student achievement. Continue to implement best practices for delivering instruction to students utilizing all available and appropriate instructional modes. This shall include ensuring articulation at all grade levels throughout the district. B, focus on classroom instruction at all grade levels. C, ensuring all students have equal access to equipment and resources needed to facilitate and promote student learning in any setting. Letter D, evaluation and updating all district programs. Letter E, accountability of all district staff. Number 2, continue to foster a positive school environment that is conducive to teaching and learning. Letter A, focus on building relationships among staff that will result in increased learning and more effective instruction. B, promote creative instruction, training, and retraining. C, emphasize on collaboration with all district stakeholders. D, promote cultural competencies throughout the district. E, teach to student relationships. And F, student to student relationships. Number 3, market our strengths and achievements to all stakeholders to increase capacity for greater parent caregiving community support. A, continue with our public relations marketing plan. B, continue to work with the various advisory committees in the district. And last, C, examine communication methods utilized by district.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Moving now, board members, to awards and presentations. Dr. Poteet, would there be any awards or presentations this evening?
Not this evening, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Poteet. Moving now, board members, to correspondence. Would there
We
be
have
any?
no- I'm sorry for cutting you off, Ms. Pitts. We have no correspondence this evening from the.
Thank you, Ms. Poole. Moving now to minutes. Board members, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve the minutes from our Board of Education meeting, our regularly held meeting, which was held on June 9th, 2021, open session. Is there a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion. This is Lorraine Dredden, make a motion for the regular minutes meeting, June the 9th, 2021, open session and closed session.
McClendon, second.
It's been moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
and Ms. Pitts.
Abstain?
The motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Paul. Moving now, board members, I'm asking for a motion to approve the regularly scheduled board meeting which was held June 9th, 2021, closed session. Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion for the regular meeting, June the 9th, 2021, open session and closed session.
McClendon, second.
It has been moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon, that we approve again both open and closed sessions. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
and Ms. Pitts.
Abstain.
Thank you. The motion has carried.
Thank you. Moving now, board members, to our board committee reports. Would there be a committee report out of our athletic committee at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Would there be a report out of our education committee at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Would there be a report out of our equity equality committee at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Would there be a report out of our operations committee at this time?
Yes, Madam President.
Ms.
Operation,
Dredden?
yes. The
Okay.
operation, okay. The Operation Committee met on Tuesday, June the 22nd, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. In attendance was Ms. Dredden, that's my subcommittee chair, Ms. Pitts, president, and Mr. Shaw. Also in attendance were Ms. Boyle, Ms. Chico, and Mr. Mills. The following items were discussed. 1, update on district projects. Mr. Mills provided an update on open projects. A, the greenhouse has passed inspection. The staff received training on June the 8th. B, worked on the exterior wall at the administration building is scheduled to begin Wednesday, June the 23rd, 2021. C, the repair to the waste line at the high school has begun. D, the monitoring agreement with DEC Electric was also discussed. 2, the American Rescue Plan, ARP, Essa Fund. School district must submit and post on their website the safe return plan by June the 24th, 2021. Winslow finalized plan will be posted by the deadline. 3, the pandemic electronic benefit transfer, PEBT, email were sent to receive from the Department of Human Services to determine if Winslow students are eligible to participate. We have not received a clear answer. Follow-up will continue. 4, addendum items. The committee discussed items on tonight, addendum and reasons for the number of items. Several situations were discussed. 5, new items. A, uniform update. To date, the district has received 3 applications from uniform assistants covering 7 students. The applications are pending since they remain incomplete. The meeting was adjourned at 6:30 p.m. The next meeting is scheduled for 5:30, July the 27th, 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Dredden. Thank you very much. Would there be any questions or comments with regard to the report out of our operations committee?
Madam President, I have a question for Ms.
Yes,
Dredden.
Ms. McClendon. Mhm.
Ms. Dredden, the uniform assistance, the 3 applications, are those 3 new applications, or are those the same ones that have been pending for a few months? I'm just
Well, we
wondering
have,
if these are,
no, it was 3 new applications received. We have
Okay.
received, okay, for uniforms, and that's considering 7 total.
okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
any further questions for the Operations Committee report? Thank you again, Ms. Dredden. Moving down to our Marketing Committee, would there be a report out of our Marketing Committee?
Yes, Madam President. The marketing team met yesterday, June 22nd at 3 p.m. So this meeting was in person, so it was a little informal rather than our formal meetings that we have. So our purpose of meeting yesterday was more of a preparation, a visual preparation as we took a walk around the school grounds to kind of get a better understanding as how to position the events for homecoming for that Saturday. And so, we just had a chance to kind of look around the grounds to get an idea of where things would be stationed at. So our meeting was very informal and relaxed, but definitely most needed. So that's it with our report outside of just a reminder of everyone. If you haven't seen the flyer, please check our Facebook page. And we have also been dropping it into a lot of other Facebook pages, especially Edgewood alumni and also Winslow. So we are still looking for participation in those specific areas that are listed on the flyer. Also, I would like to say if there are any, presidents from the first class of Edgewood and the last class of Edgewood, also maybe the first class of Winslow, senior presidents, please reach out to me. I definitely would like to have a conversation with you. We definitely would like for your participation in the homecoming event. So my email address is on the district website, but I can also say it. It's McClendon, MCCLEN, D as in dog, ON, A as in apple, B as in boy, at winslow-schools.com. Please reach out to me. So again, we're looking for the senior class presidents of the first class of Edgewood, and also the last class of Edgewood, and the first class of Winslow. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. McClendon. Would there be any questions or comments with regards to the Marketing Committee report? All right, moving now, board members. Ms. Martin, would there be a report out of our CAC committee?
No report, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. With regards to our Policy Committee, we do not have a report at this time. The date of the next Policy Committee meeting will be announced later this week. At this time, board members, we're moving on page 2. I'm asking for a motion to approve the superintendent's report that begins the middle of page 2 and continues through to the bottom of page 7. Is there a motion?
Madam President,
Yes.
on page 5, item 17, it's been requested that we table that item.
Professional development training?
Yes, Madam President.
All right. We will table that. And the reason for tabling that, Ms. Bull, will we be discussing that at a later date? Or is there further information?
Yes, Madam President, Dr. Poteet, we've rescheduled that training for a later date. And
Oh.
those dates have already been confirmed. We just moved it to a later time.
Oh, okay. All right, so we will table that item. So again,
Right. You will see that in the addendum when you get to the addendum, but we've rescheduled that training. So
okay.
it's
Okay.
okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Dr. Poteet. So therefore, again, board members, I'm asking for a motion to approve the superintendent's report again that began at the middle of page 2 and continued through to page 7 with item number 17 on page 5 being tabled. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President. I would like to make a motion for the superintendent report to be approved, tabling 17 on page 5.
McClendon, second.
Moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon. Further comments or questions? Hearing none? Hearing none? Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
and Ms. Pitts.
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle. Board members, moving now to page 8. I'm asking for a motion to approve the Business Administrator Board Secretary's report that begins at the top of page 8 and continues through to the bottom of page 21. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to approve the Business Administrative Secretary report.
McClendon, second.
Moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon. Would there be further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Ms. Thomas? Okay, we may have lost Ms. Thomas, but we can continue.
okay. Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
and Ms. Pitts.
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. McCoy. Moving now, board members, I'm asking for a motion to approve the personnel report that begins at the top of page 22 and continues through to the bottom of page 25. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to approve the personnel report.
McClendon, second.
Moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon. Would there be further comments or questions? Hearing none,
Yes.
roll call. Oops,
Yes, Madam President. I just
Yes,
have a
Ms. Martin.
question. This is Ms. Martin.
yes,
Under this section for personnel, I noticed for number 1, it says approved to rescind the following new hires.
what page is that, Ms. Martin?
That is on the top of page 22.
Okay,
I
Mr.
can
Davis?
respond to that. Yes, this is Mr. Davis here. Those 2 employees were previously approved on a prior agenda for the
Yes.
next school year. And unfortunately, both notified me that they took offers in other districts. So that's why they're being rescinded.
okay,
Just wanted to be clear.
good. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Davis.
You're
Any
welcome.
further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
and Ms. Pitts.
Yes,
Motion has carried.
thank you, Ms. Bull. At this time, board members, and yes, I do have the addendum. And so we'll move very swiftly to our addendum. And I will again give about 2 or 3 minutes for those of us who may not have gotten or seen the addendum, because as we know, in the past, some of us somehow had the addendum to slip past us. So we'll take just a few more minutes to take a look at it before I ask for approval.
A lot of bids on that and Mrs. Boyle.
That's true, Mr. Long. And thank you for your assistance.
Anytime. I was not fishing for a compliment.
Yes, you are.
Okay, board members, moving along with our addendum, at this time, I am asking for a motion to approve the business administrator board secretary's report as it appears today on our addendum, beginning on page 1, and it continues through to the bottom of page 6. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President. I would like to make a motion for the business administrator board secretary report to be approved.
McClendon, second.
Moved by Ms. Stratton, second by Ms. McClendon on the addendum. Would there be further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
and Ms. Pitts.
Yes.
The motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Bull. Moving now to the personnel report as it appears on our addendum, asking for a motion to approve said report that begins and ends on page 7. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President. A motion for personnel to be approved.
McClendon, second.
Moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson, and Ms. Pitts.
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Bull. Moving now, board members, we're returning to our regular addendum. I am still on page 25. We are at the point where we're looking at our Open Public Records Act request. Ms. Boyle?
Yes, Madam President, between the period of June 4th and June 17th of 2021, we received and responded to a request by John McGovern from Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters. They wanted to list the plan holders for the renovation of the high school A-wing music rooms and office. And that's bid number 2021-20. That list was provided and supplied.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ms. Boyle. Moving now, board members, I'm at the top of page 26. Old business. Would there be, board members, any old business that we would care to discuss at this time?
Yes, Madam President, I do have something.
Yes, Ms. McClendon?
I know it was a very busy week last week. I do have a question. Dr. Potee, I know at the last meeting, I asked if we could look into getting another date on the calendar for August and September for another vaccination shot for our young people. I don't know if you had a chance to look into that yet, if you want to talk about it now or later.
Sure, I did inquire, and Dr. Nowako, the director of the Camden County Department of Health, said that that is a possibility. He asked me to touch base with them a little later in the summer to find out their availability, but he did say that that would be a possibility. The only concern that he did express, and I think rightly so, initially when we did the vaccinations for the students, we had 297 people signed up. Only 189 showed up for the vaccination. So, and the concern is they bring out the number of staff based on the number of people who apply. We still have to pay that staff whether those individuals show up or not. And of course, under these circumstances and today's time, you know, everybody want to be as proficient and cost efficient as possible. So if parents are going to make a commitment for their children, they want to make sure that they do keep those appointments, because it does become somewhat of a cost for them if people sign up and don't show up.
Dr. Potee, do you know if anyone had the first shot but didn't show up for the second shot? Just wondering.
That is not information that I'm privy to, because it boils down to be really confidential and personal because it is quote unquote medical. So it's not something I could ask. But in a roundabout way, I think I could probably say of the 189 who received their first shots, find out how many did they vaccinate for their second shots.
Right. Okay.
I'll see if I can get that information, but it was somewhat of a disappointment for them the first time because they had so many staff here to accommodate our needs and it just didn't come to fruition. So a little disappointing on my end
Right.
as well as theirs.
Well, I definitely understand that. I was just thinking because school is going to be in full general population with everybody. For those students who haven't gotten the shot, maybe at this time parents are going to be looking to do something before September rolls around. So that was one of the reasons why I suggested possibly doing it again, another rollout.
Well, we'll see what their availability is. I think your recommendation was to have something closer to the opening of school, like the end of August, maybe, and see how many people would be interested. So we'll see what his availability is around that time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other further comments on old business, board members? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to new business. Would there be any new business, board members, that you would care to discuss at this time?
Yes, Madam President.
Yes, Ms. Peterson?
Yes, Madam President and board members, I have been really pleased with the acknowledgement of our students that have academic excellence and a variety of different student engagement activities in their portfolio. Last graduation last week, I was impressed with the young lady that had to overcome being bilingual and to achieve academic excellence along with the salutatorian. So I did a little research because I keep my records, and I believe except for last year, for the past 7 years, our students self-disclosed that they have received anywhere from 3 million to 7 million in scholarships, which is really fantastic. But we don't have that legacy of academic excellence. I would like to discuss the feasibility of having either a resolution for academic excellence to the salutatorian and the valedictorian, but also perhaps doing a wall of fame where we have a plaque that acknowledges all the valedictorians on one for the past 20 years. And I thought Mrs. McClendon would like that because that's a part of our theme. And then also all the salutatorians and their year for the past 20 years. This way we can keep archiving our history in Winslow and the achievements. So I'd like to offer that up for discussion at this time.
Well, Ms. Peterson, excuse me, I think that's an excellent way of celebrating our past and recognizing and looking forward to our futures. Board members, any comments with regards to the suggestion, recommendation that we have just heard from Ms. Peterson?
Ms. Pitts, this is Ms. Martin.
Yes, Ms.
I
Martin.
think that falls right into play with our celebration for homecoming, and it gives us an opportunity to take a look at all of our valedictorians and salutatorians for Winslow. So I think that's an awesome idea.
So
I ditto that as well from both of the other board members. Ms. Peterson, now with that being put in place, would that be something to add to each year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can probably get a nice plaque. And since we should have 20 names, we could probably get a plaque that has 30, and their name could be placed on that plaque, each student that fits that category and the year.
Mhm.
This way, that also helps students as they travel through the hallway to
Mhm.
encourage them to strive for excellence.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely. That sounds phenomenal. And I just want to say that you said you can get a plaque, but I just want to remind you that the marketing team does not have a budget. So, Dr. Poteet, that that plaque would hopefully come from another funding source. But I think that's an excellent idea and definitely a way for to continue on throughout history. So great.
You know what? Now, Ms. McClendon, absolutely. And when this is just a bit solidified, rather than create another committee, I'm going to place that in the hands of the marketing committee so that you can reach out to Ms. Peterson. But Ms. McClendon, you made a comment, and I'm glad because you triggered my memory. You mentioned about the marketing committee not having a budget. Now, I think that we do understand that we have 6 or 7 committees on this board. No committee has a budget because you're not independent of the board. We are all board members, and of course, the district has a budget. So no committee has a budget. So, but however, in the event that whatever the project or the particular situation that you're working on, if there's a cost to it, then we present it to Dr. Poteet, who will then let us know whether or not we can afford it. Is that not correct, Dr. Poteet?
Yes and no. There
Okay.
are some things that the school district can financially support. There are some things we cannot. But what I will do, based on the recommendation that I heard this evening, I will have a conversation with our business administrator, particularly for the valedictorian and salutatorian. I think that's something that we can do. But I'm just remembering some of the other things that were brought to my attention through the marketing committee that I know we cannot financially do. But there are some things that we can support through the board and the district. And I'll get back to you after I've had a conversation with our business administrator.
Okay. Okay, Ms. McClendon. Any further comments with regards to new business? If not, I would just like to take just a few minutes at this time, and I hope I can get through this, of course, without tearing up, to thank the class of 2021 for what they did at their graduation in recognizing the efforts that I have been blessed to be able to share with this board. That was certainly unexpected, and I thank so very, very much the class of 2021. And I'd like to piggyback, especially on what Ms. Peterson said, because in looking at what happened on that day, I think, as well as the valedictorian, the salutatorian, Mr. Matthew Simmons, parts of his speech were exceptional.
Yes.
Without a doubt, he let the world know that he is Winslow proud. I'm thinking about the comments where he started his very beginning. He started in kindergarten in school 1. And Dr. Poteet, if my math is correct, that would be probably around 2008, 2009, the time that you also came to the district.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, so that's really certainly special to Dr. Poteet. And what also he said was that he and the valedictorian started planning in their junior year with regards to who was going to be number 1 and who's going to be number 2. That I thought that was incredible. And then I'll just end by saying that with regards to this young man, the comments that he made about when people ask him what district he goes to, and he says Winslow, and they get disgusted and show disapproval, and he commented on Winslow's unwarranted reputation. And then after that, he went on to list the wonderful things that are here in Winslow. He talked about the blue collar worker and the number of awards that we got and the strong staff. This man is a walking, talking Winslow Township. We are proud Winslow Township. So Kudos again to his parents who have produced this young man. And also kudos to the district that have prepared him academically to get a scholarship to that prestigious North Carolina State University, and for him to major in mechanical engineering. And all I have to say, and I hope that he's listening to this young man, that he is a triple threat. He's young, he's smart, and he's handsome. So he can only go up from there. So again, many, many thanks to the class of 2021. God bless you all, and may you all be extremely successful. Now,
Madam President, may I add something to your statement?
yes, yes,
I-
Ms. McClendon.
Another thing is that, you know, we talk so much about parent involvement. I'm going back to Mr. Simmons, his speech. We talk about parent involvement being key in the success of our students. And the one thing when he talked about his mother and his father being involved, but his mother, even with everything that circle endured, with, you know, with his mother's sickness, her involvement was still as strong as it was from day one. And so that's just a tribute again to the role that we as parents play in our
Absolutely.
child's life when they go through their years of schooling. So, you know, I was very touched by his speech, you know, and I agree with him 100%. No matter what the trials and tribulations were, his mom was still present at all times. The second thing is, I think that the guest speaker that we had, did a phenomenal job with his speech to the class of 2021. Not only did he share a motivational speech, but it was more of a personal speech because he talked about his experience of, you know, his ups and downs. And that's one thing we always tell young people, even with this pandemic, you know, it was a struggle, but you survived and you made it through. There's going to be plenty of obstacles that's going to come in your life, but you have to know how to endure it and keep moving. When one door closes, another door opens. So I think that the guest speaker that we had was awesome. His message hit home. And, you know, it was something for our young people to take back and move forward as they press to the next stage of their journey. So, you know, I just wanted to say that as well.
Absolutely, and I do believe I saw quite a few handkerchiefs out there going throughout the board members and administration. It was just a great, great day. So God bless them all. Moving now, board members.
Madam President.
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
Just to make sure that we're clear, do we have to have a motion approved for an acknowledgement of academic excellence plaques?
Mr. Long, do we need a
No, I
motion
think
for that?
Dr. Poteet indicated he was going to be looking into it with Mrs. Boyle and reporting back. So it's just an information item at this point. And if we formally do it, I'm sure we'll put something together.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Long.
What would you say, Dr. Poteet?
Yes, I don't think we need a motion. I think the purchasing of the plaques to acknowledge past and present valedictorian salutatorian is something that we can do. I don't see that as an issue. It's just a matter of us planning and making sure that we take the time, do it right, get something really nice. But I do believe, Mrs. Peterson, that is something that we can do.
Okay.
Mrs. Pitts, before we move on, can I say something?
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to add to everything everybody's been saying about the class of 21, but I also want to add that the importance of our valedictorian and being the first Hispanic valedictorian in our school's history, and the importance of all our ESL teachers that have helped get her there. Because when she broke down to speak to her family in Spanish, like that really was, you know, like that hit home to me. Like I know Matthew Simmons and his family, like his mom is an incredible woman, his dad's an incredible person, but the importance of our ESL staff to help lead that young lady into to achieve the goal that she set out with, of course, to Matthew and her. I can't remember her last name.
Here's her name, Mr. Shaw, so that you know her name is Rachel Perdermo
No, I know her
Ruiz.
first name. I know her.
Rachel Ruiz.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so to get her to that point,
Mm-hmm.
and then the overall theme, like what I felt like our graduation was strength and mental health, and with our guest speaker, with the pandemic and all his trials and tribulations that he had, leading him to NFL films, and the class of 21 with all for the pandemic, like these young people that we have that came through this school district and graduated this year, and our guest speaker, the commonality of everything that they had to deal with, like it's just tremendous what our class of 2021 is going to experience in life, and they've already got their hands on it, and they're going to run for success. And it's a tremendous thing that we have in Winslow with our graduates, with the amount of money they got in scholarships, with the kids that are just going to go in the workforce and go out there and succeed. Like our teachers, our secondary staff, everybody that they all deserve a round of applause, because these kids, they are truly amazing that just graduated and walked out our school doors.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody from Dr. Poteet on down, they really deserve a round of applause, because everybody, and our parents too, parents, guardians, everybody really deserve a round of applause. But for me, Matthew Simmons' parents, they deserve it, but our ESL staff and it's just overall, everybody just deserves it. Like this was amazing for me.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. I couldn't agree more, really. And again, as has been said, and I think I may have mentioned it that day, it's not so much what happens to us in life, it's how we handle what happens to us in life that makes the difference. So I totally agree with you, Mr. Shaw. So therefore, before we move on, would there be any more comments out of new business? Okay, hearing none. Informational items, Dr. Poteet?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and community, I do have a few information items. Before going to the information items, I just want to just say on behalf of everything that's been said about our graduation, something special happened out there Thursday. You had to be there to understand what actually took place there. And I just want everyone to know that you don't get that same feeling when you see it on tape. You had to be physically present to understand what took place there. And I think it was something special. And I want to commend everyone who was involved in putting that together, particularly the young people. Very, very proud of them. I'd like to start my information items, board members, members of the community, with the safe return plan that was placed on the district's website on Friday. As you recall, I mentioned it at our board meeting on June the 9th. We posted the district's plan on our website on Friday, June the 11th. That information also was sent out to the board members. A letter went home to all parents on Monday the 14th. There was a robocall that evening on the 14th, and requesting all parents to comment if they had any questions or concerns. My email address was also a part of that letter. And we also asked those parents if they wanted to participate in public comment this evening. We encouraged them to do so. I want the community to know that this is a working document and is subject to change up until September 30th, 2023. It is designed to change. So as we move through this process, it is designed to make changes as we go along. I did get a few requests and comments. The initial requests were basically around mask wearing and whether or not masks will be optional in September. Again, we are too far away to make a commitment one way or the other, because in September, we don't know what type of CDC guidelines or where the pandemic will be. Hopefully we'll be ahead of it, and possibly the mask will be optional, but we cannot make a commitment at this point, but that's the purpose of the document being a working document. We can make changes as we go along, and I will continue to ask community for their input. One of the other questions that was asked was primarily whether or not we were going to be in school for 5 days a week. For those parents who may have missed that, the intent for next year is to be in person 5 days a week. There will not be a hybrid model. We will not be providing remote instruction. The plan is to have everyone in school 5 days a week, face-to-face instruction. I did receive several questions today. It was too late for me to really get in to those questions, but I'd like to just mention a few of them. But unfortunately, I can't answer them now. But then again, that's the purpose of the document. It's not a situation where we can give answers without having discussion. So one of the questions was about cleaning the locker rooms, particularly the middle school and the high school. We had indicated in the plan that they will be cleaned daily. The question was, can we clean them after every gym class? So that discussion will center around that gym and locker room is used every day, every period of the day, and how we'll be able to get in and clean the locker room between classes, which is only 4 minutes. It's something that needs to be discussed, but I just want the individual who sent that question in to understand the magnitude of that request. I also asked about filters, the type of filters, how often they were being changed, specific language in the plan. Again, that's something that needs to be discussed, because I also want the community to know that this plan was put together by a group of individuals, particularly in the leadership team, as well as those individuals who are responsible for various departments in the school district. So it's a collaboration, and I'll be able to get back to the individual, but also want to have some discussion on those kinds of items. Last but not least, the question was about Chromebooks. Next year, could each student have their own Chromebook, particularly those in the high school, I guess the upper level academic classes, whether or not those youngsters could have their own personal Chromebooks and not share them because of safety reasons and that sort of thing. I just want to say to the writer that without having in-depth discussion with everyone involved, there are issues surrounding having individuals have their own Chromebooks. And I just want the board to know this as we continue moving toward the beginning of our school year. For example, right now, at the end of the school year, we were unable to collect 624 Chromebooks.
What?
And you remember a few board meetings ago, we had some discussion about the timeline as to why we're collecting them early and why we should wait and that sort of thing. And we understood and we did move it back. But one of the issues at this point is, of all the Chromebooks we hand out, 624 of them have not been collected. 213 of those Chromebooks are at the high school. 81 hotspots have not been collected. These numbers do not include the number of Chromebooks that were damaged to the point where they are beyond repair. And of course, having the issue of parents not necessarily being receptive to pay for those damaged Chromebooks, the difficulty we're having collecting our Chromebooks. So when we start talking about giving Chromebooks to students, I have to continue to bring to the attention of the board that these Chromebooks are expensive. And the question now remains, for those 624 students, are we going to give them another Chromebook in September, even though they still have a Chromebook? Those Chromebooks that are damaged, that have not been paid for. So the board at this point will have to look at that cost and take a position whether we're going to eat the cost and not worry about it, move forward, continue to pass out Chromebooks, It is my responsibility, of course, to bring this to your attention because it always turns out to be an issue for us when it's time for collecting these kinds of items. So those are the kinds of things that are being submitted to me. But I think before we start putting things in our plan, before our plan is even finalized, and I don't think that will ever be the case because we can continue to change it. But I think further discussion is needed before we start putting things in the plan so that everybody in the community understand exactly why we're doing certain things. Okay?
Okay, now excuse me, Dr. Potteet, excuse me, I would just like to address the board meetings with regards to what you just said, because it just appears to me that that number of Chromebooks would translate to a very large amount of money, certainly in the thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Board members, at this point, I know that it would be not really timely for us to go into a long discussion, but I would like to hear some comments. We will certainly, this will be on our agenda at our retreat.
Yes.
But board members, I would like to just to hear your thinking with regards to what Dr. Potteet just shared with us.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
even if you do a rough calculation of 624 Chromebooks not returned, the damaged numbers, if you times that by 200,
Yes.
you're up there.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure.
you're well over 130 some thousand right there.
Okay.
Hotspots, I guess we did disconnect those hotspots, but still they must be returned. And hotspots, I believe, are like $25 to $40 per hotspot.
I would ask Mrs. Boyle or Dr. Carpenter. I can't remember the cost, but I know it's in that range. The problem is, those are the property of the school district, and we did shut those off. But one of the issues we will continue to have is it eliminates or minimizes our options or alternative options to continue to allow us to have connectivity beyond the school walls. So as we look at our curriculum and as we plan for next school year, board members, these are some of the things that have to be discussed, as Ms. Pitts mentioned, because there is a significant cost associated with them.
Exactly.
So my rough estimate of all the things, and only with the hotspots being at 40, when you look at it, and I'm looking at 624 plus another maybe 25.
No, Mrs. Peterson.
25 damage.
No, I'm looking through my notes right now because I know Dr. Carcamo provided me with that. It's 199 Chromebooks that needs to be replaced. Replaced in the sense that they were beyond repair. So we're looking at 200.
199?
Yes, so we're looking at 200 replacements and 624 that have not been returned. And then again, we're not even sure what condition those are in that haven't been returned.
So roughly that would be, if you look at $200 a piece, you're looking at $160,000 for that. And then for the hotspots, $3,240. You're looking at roughly $163,000 in expense.
So, board members, what I would suggest that we do is to take a long, hard look at our current policy. And we very well at our retreat may find it necessary to create a policy and procedure with regards to how we're going to handle this, because I don't think I have to say it twice, but that's a very large amount of money that's going to be a major gap in our budget. So, board members, some of you are very silent. I'm looking at the faces, they're very blank.
I have a question, Madam President.
Yes, Mr.
So
Clinton.
I thought that when we put the Chromebook in hotspots, when we put that in position to be handed out, that there was paperwork that was signed. I thought we had already kind of put something in place as far as, you know, it needs to be returned in the same condition it was received. Is that not
Oh,
enough,
yes,
Dr.
that's,
Cote, or?
oh, yeah, it's true. I think the next step that Mrs. Pitts may be alluding to is, where do we go from here? I mean, are we going to go into collections? Because we do have the signed document of agreement, but if the parents still do not return the Chromebooks, so where do we go from here? I think that's where we need to think. So what's the next step? How do we collect it? How do we get it back? That's where I think we are.
Is the number that you gave us? I'm sorry, Madam President. Oh, Ms. Pitts, we can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So just to respond to your comment, Ms. McClendon, yes, you're right. I believe that there were statements that were signed initially by parents saying that they would return them. However, those statements did not say what would happen if they didn't return them. So there is a difference. And so that is what we as a board, now that we have been given this information, we really, really need to take steps to determine exactly what is to be done, how do we collect it, or what are the consequences for not returning those to the district. That's what we need to, and we will be definitely discussing at our retreat.
And
Question
I don't want to belabor this point because I know we're going to have further discussion. And I think a part of this discussion needs to take place in one of our public meetings so that the community will know. Mrs. Peterson's numbers were on the very, very low side because these Chromebooks, depending on the model, we're looking at $400, maybe $500 a piece. So it's not, or particularly if it's one of the newer ones, we're not trying to make money off our parents. So I just want to make that very clear. We're not trying to make money. If a Chromebook is damaged just by use, we repair them at no cost. It's those Chromebooks that are beyond repair. Screens are broken, keyboards broken, screens removed from the computers or the Chromebooks. I mean, we had some in such bad shape that there's no way they can be repaired. Drop maybe in water where they just damaged for whatever reason. So at this point, we're looking at a substantial amount of money. I don't want to belabor it. I just need to make sure that before we go on summer break and before we have our retreat, this is one of the issues that I want to put out there to the public because I think it will have an impact on how we distribute Chromebooks next year and how much money we're going to spend.
That number of 200 that you said were damaged, is that from the amount of Chromebooks that was turned in at the end of the school year, or was that throughout the period of the school year? I just want to make sure I understand you.
Dr. Poteet, may I respond? This is Dr. Carcamo. So Mrs. McClendon, that's not including the end of the year turn-ins. So actually, if we counted that, all of the damages during the course of the school year, it far exceeds 199 Chromebooks that have been damaged in some form or fashion.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that question is because I know that there were some Chromebooks when they were first handed out that were not operational.
And we're not talking about those Chromebooks.
Okay.
Because the Chromebooks that were given out, and there was a problem with charging, some of them had battery issues. We corrected those problems, but we are talking about Chromebooks that were given to parents in working condition.
Okay. I was just wanted to make sure I was clear as far as was the 200 part of the group that was returned, or if it was during the course of the time of the year while the students were using the Chromebook. So that answers it. Thank you.
I have a question, just a quick question. Is there like an itemized not a bill, but like say you broke something, this is how much it costs. Because I know someone who turned in the computer and the letter T was missing, and they wanted, it was an $85 bill. So like I wanted to know, was it like something that we could kind of put out and say, if you damage the screen, it costs this, or like, because maybe, you know, if parents see it, maybe they can budget it into their, you know, their finances. Just a thought.
Well,
Mr.
Mr. Blake,
Blake, Mr. Blake, that was provided to parents when they signed for the Chromebooks. The cost that it would, the cost of replacement for Chromebook that was not repairable, the cost for screens. So those charges were outlined there. So we tried to capture as much as we could. But here's another problem. Sometimes when the Chromebooks come back to us, there's more damage than we can see right then. So the charges will be different because we can't repair them in-house. We have to send them out.
Okay. Let me just throw this out there as we move to our next item. I've had conversation with some of my colleagues, and they had insurance available to the parents when they picked up their Chromebooks. The insurance was anywhere from, let's say, $35 to $40. And if you took that insurance, it would cover the cost of that Chromebook.
I see.
For a minimal amount of money. I think based on where we are, that is something that we should definitely pursue. And I say that as a parent because I purchased the insurance for my daughter's Chromebooks. And if there was any damage to those Chromebooks upon my return, they were covered by the insurance. Now, there are certain things that aren't going to be covered, but I think as a normal use, whatever, but if you just outright break them, like somebody just threw them across the street and just tore them up, then, you know, those are not considered reasonable costs under insurance. But I think that's something we should at least consider. That will help parents, because sometimes based on the cost of a Chromebook, that's a lot of money.
Right.
That's a lot of money for a parent to be able to say, I have to have that to you in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And in as much as we are working with our parents, like I said, we're not trying to make money off of anyone, but we are trying to accommodate our parents as best we possibly can academically, so that these kind of resources, just like a textbook, can be reusable year after year after year. Okay?
Dr. Potee, are the schools still open or still able or open to receive Chromebooks, any items that have not been turned in?
Oh yeah, we're open every day. We're open
Okay.
every day. What the
So-
parents should do, you know, just call the school, because our secretarial staff and the principals are rotating because they're summer vacation time. So there's always an administrator in the building. So I would say, you know, like you would normally do, just call and say, I'd like to return this item or whatever it may be. Is there anyone in the office? Sure. All the schools are open.
Okay, great. So, public announcement. For parents that are listening, please return the Chromebooks in the hotspots. This would definitely help the board to make a conscious decision for those parents that are asking for students to receive Chromebooks. Work with us on this. So if you're holding on to a Chromebook in a hotspot, you can't use the hotspot right now because it's turned off. So return it back to the school so that we can put it back in inventory. And if the board decides to move forward on giving Chromebooks back out, it will make our jobs a lot easier if you return the equipment now. So please, 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 schools are still open and ready to receive them. So that's a public announcement, Dr.
Thank you, Ms. McClendon, for that wonderful marketing committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, this is Ms. Redden. I would like to say something.
Yes, Ms. Redden.
Yes, I just want to ask Dr. Potee that maybe if I know it's a lot of parents, like 624 had not returned their Chromebooks, and that's a lot. When you said that, I was amazed. I couldn't believe that many Chromebooks, or that the parents, I mean, we went to lengths to make sure each child got a Chromebook. No one was missed, you know, that needed one. So I was wondering, is there any way you could notify the parents of each of the Chromebooks. I mean, that would be the first step to notify them and let them know these Chromebooks must be turned in. And maybe if you let them know, that it must be turned in, and whatever the consequences may be, or whatever the paper that they signed to receive them, and so they should be able to come back and return them because they made a promise that would be returned. So I would say, could they notify the parents?
Yes,
By
yes, Mrs. Drake, we have done that. And we will continue to reach out to those parents throughout the summer months. However, as a board, we have to make a decision as to when we're going to draw the line and what steps we're going to take next. But we have reached out to the parents, asking for their support. And again, I mean, it's disheartening for me because, this isn't something I want to be doing. I don't want the principals because people get angry, they get upset. So now it's a very negative type of conversation, relationship, because you're asking. And if the parent is not receptive, then it becomes an issue for us. And that's not what we want to spend our summer doing. So we need to find out the best way to do this so that we don't find ourselves in a confrontation with parents over something such as this. So thank you, Mrs. Dredden. We will continue to do that. My second information item, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have received Essa Funds, and we've had conversations over the past few months because these funds are associated also with our safe return plan. So everything is connected. And when we did receive our estimated amount at $8.5 or $8.9 million, we have to make sure that we have the input from the community, all the stakeholders, just as we're doing with the plan itself. So what I'm going to do is put a survey out to the community and indicate to the parents basically what I just said, that it is required by law that we get input. And I also want to explain to them what the monies can be used for. But I also want to put in the survey that we've done our own self-assessment through our administrators, and we pretty much know based on through the course of this year what we need. So I'm going to put there, these are the recommendations that are being made by the school district. And at the bottom, you can say you agree or you disagree. And the next question would be, what do you think we should be spending the money for? Particularly if you disagree. What do you think we should be spending the ESSER monies for? And then you can indicate on the survey what you think we should be spending those monies for. So that survey will go out no later than Monday of next week. But I just want to emphasize the fact that we need to make sure we are dealing with our own stakeholders. So you have to put your name, address, identify yourself. I don't want any ghost people submitting information from California and things like that. This is a community survey. It will be on our website. So we are asking again for your input. I'll do a robocall to parents, and I know the parents are looking forward to that robocall, encouraging them for their input for the survey. All right.
Excuse me, Dr. Poteet, just as a point of information, I know those of us that are in the educational arena speak in acronyms, but these ESSER, ESSER funds, again, just as a point of information, that ESSER stands for Elementary and Second School Emergency Relief Fund, just as a point of information.
Right. And the ARP is the American Rescue Plan, ESSER funds. So yes, it's all in our plans. It's everything right now is sort of correlating and sort of combined in everything we're doing. We just want to make sure that everyone has some input. So take an opportunity to look at the recommendations that we are making that we like to spend the monies for. So this will go out not only to the community, will go out to our teachers and anyone else who would be interested in filling out the survey in the Winslow Township community. All right?
Dr. Potteet,
Yes.
question. So when I look at the return plan, and I'm very impressed with the number 2 that's on page 6, ensuring continuity of services. So some of the funding under social emotional learning, the dedicated full-time, that's where some of the funding is going.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that's very
Yes,
important.
Absolutely. Everything in this plan, we've taken the time to go through the plan based on what we've done in previous years, what we anticipate we may look like next year. And Mrs. Peterson, the changes as we go along through our conversations and input from parents, we can make changes, continuously making changes until hopefully by September we have something we can work with. But even beyond September, if we find that there's something we put in place that's not working, or there's something else that we need, it can go into the plan. So you're absolutely right. So we are going to be, as we always have tried to be, good custodians of our monies. So we want to just make sure that we're going to continue to do so. So the plan, the recommendations will be there. Please take a look, and then we'll come back and have a discussion on what those recommendations are. I want to wait until parents had a chance to see them before we put them out there. All right?
Dr. Potteet, I do have a question as
Yes,
far
sir.
as the how do you say? I can't even think of the word. As far as all stakeholders being included, will you have like focus groups, like teachers, like kind of like a conversation with teachers other than the survey, and the same thing with parents, just to kind of see what kind of input, some kind of collaboration? Because I mean, surveys do work, but I think when you talk to people and you get the, I know you hear what's going on in these classrooms, but sometimes, you may not hear everything. So I was just curious to know, will there be like focus groups for like teachers and community members?
Well, here's the first step, of course, would be the survey, because the survey, of course, you're going to reach a lot more people. Your focus groups, if you're going to come and discuss what we already have, that's why it's important for me to know if the overall majority of the people agree with the recommendations we're making, then we're already halfway there. The focus groups will have to happen over the summer. And if that is the case, then people are going to have to commit themselves as they did last summer when we had all of our organizations, our groups, that sort of thing. But again, that's why it's going to the teachers. And a lot of the things that we are recommending has come from the teachers based on the conversations and the things we learned this school year. So we already know what didn't work. So that's why when we did our own self-assessment, we pretty much knew the kinds of things we want to do. For example, and I didn't want to get into it, but for example, of course, we want to upgrade all our HVAC systems, which includes but not limited to air conditioning all of our buildings. We've heard that from our teachers and the community. Upgrade the district technology infrastructure to enhance staff and student connectivity. We heard that all year, the issues, so that's a recommendation. Upgrade desktop computers district-wide. Give that upgrade so the teachers don't have the issues that they had with those desktop computers that we had this past school year. Hire additional teachers to assist with student learning district-wide, putting additional bodies in classrooms where they're needed, those kinds of things. So I understand what you're saying, but based on what we're recommending, it pretty much came from our teachers in the classrooms and the issues that they had. And I just want them to see the survey so they'll know that we heard what they said and we're going to address it. And of course, let's say we get 2,000 or more responses. There's just no way in the world you're going to have input from 2,000 people other than through a survey. So at this point, that's the first step. And I understand what you're saying, Mr. Blake. So why don't we take a step there? That's why I'm doing it early. and then we can, strategize as to what our next steps are. Does that work for you?
So, Dr. Potee,
Yes.
I was just listening to what Mr. Blake was saying, and Mr. Blake, that's a very good idea and input for that. But one other thing came to mind, Dr. Potee, is your Real Talk platform. That's a perfect opportunity to use that to invite parents, teachers in that forum, so some discussions can take place there, especially over the summertime. It's easy, it's accessible for people. They don't have to come out anywhere. They can actually just log on. So I think that a suggestion from me to you would be utilize your Real Talk platform as well as that line of discussion to be able to have that back and forth communication.
That's
But
doable.
I definitely agree with Mr. Blake, getting as much input as we can. So the survey will give us a lot of input, but also the Real Talk will also open up some lines of discussion, maybe discussions about what came in through the survey as well.
Right.
So
That's doable. As a matter of fact, I even see that as being even more feasible because, again, people can contribute from their own homes. They don't have to necessarily come out to a particular location. And then again, some people are still somewhat hesitant. So that's doable. We can do that. That's not a problem. All right, so that's the one thing. The other thing I just need, these are pretty much updates that definitely have to happen and is being brought to our attention from the State Department as well as our county, executive county superintendents. Immunization requirements. It has been an issue because it's been brought to our attention that over these pandemic months, many of the children have not kept up with their immunizations. We want all parents to know that children must have their immunizations updated prior to returning school. It states that all children must comply with age-appropriate immunization requirements set forth in NJAC 857-4. Children who are not up to date on their immunization requirements and or not meet eligibility for provisional admission should not be allowed to attend school in person until immunizations are received or applicable exemptions are filed. So they're being very, very strict on making sure immunizations are taken care of. Their information that they provided us states that routine vaccination rates declined last year due to COVID-19. The decline might pose a serious public health threat that will result in pediatric vaccination preventable disease outbreaks, which have the potential to derail efforts to reopening schools. Therefore, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the New Jersey Department of Health is encouraging all parents and guardians to get their children up to date with their vaccinations. Parents and guardians should plan ahead and schedule appointments with their healthcare professionals now to avoid the back to school rush in August, because that always happens. They're making appointments and then they're told they can't get in until September or October, but they expect us to say, okay, you can come in, but they're asking us now in advance. Children should not be admitted if they do not have their vaccinations because of other spreads of disease that has now been placed on the back burner because of COVID-19. Now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we'll do the same thing we've always tried to do. We'll also use, during that same meeting, any opportunity to reach parents, calls, real talk with the superintendent. But the bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, parents, please start making those appointments now, and so that you don't have to wait until September to have your appointments pushed back to October, November, because that's going to be an issue for us. Okay.
Okay.
The next thing, of course, is student attendance for 21-22 school year. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that was an issue this year. We've had conversations in our public meetings about students coming to school or logging in. I am meeting with our attendance officer, Dr. Carcamo. We're talking about ways we can reach out to parents during the summer months to let them know that, we're hoping that we can help you with this issue, point out some things to them, let them know how important it is for their child to attend school, and hopefully we can assist them in addressing that issue prior to school opening. So we're going to do an outreach prior to opening school to address some of the attendance issues, particularly those young people who may have been retained because they missed so many days of school. So we are going to reach out as much as possible. Talking about school, summer school, ladies and gentlemen, starts July the 6th, which is that Tuesday after our 4th of July weekend. Transportation and all notices will be mailed June the 28th. Parents will receive their bus stop and school locations because all schools are not being used. Grades 1st through 3rd grade will be using schools 3 and 4. School 3 is primarily for our students with IEPs. Grades 4 and 5, 4 through 5, which is 4th, 5th, and 6th graders will be using school 5. And our grades 7 through 12, middle school and high school, will be using the middle school. So you may ask, why are we only using specific schools? We're trying to use the schools that have the most air conditioning rooms or classrooms so that the young people can be in the most comfortable environment that we can provide. We're having work done, of course, at the high school, but the middle school does have a lot more air conditioning classrooms. So we're going to try to use those. And we're also using school 6, schools 5 and 6. But we are going to try to use as many air conditioned spaces as possible so that our young people can be comfortable. All right. Last but not least, our before and after school program, we had a surprise visit by the State Department a week or two ago, and we received our recertification for after school programs up until January of 2024. I want to commend Mr. Mills and his staff for always maintaining a proper and clean and welcoming before and after school program, because we never know when they are coming. The state complimented us again for having one of the most well-run and efficient after-school programs in the state. Of course, you well know that we were the first, or one of the first school districts to achieve licensing requirements in the entire state back in 2017. So I want to commend Mr. Mills and his staff and everyone involved for maintaining an excellent program. Whether they come in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning, we are always ready because they maintain an excellent and well-efficient run program. So we received our licensing for another year and a half, and we're looking forward to servicing our families and our young people in September. That concludes, ladies and gentlemen, my information items for this evening, and I will address any questions you may have. And I'm also asking the community, if you have any questions tonight in reference to our safe return plan, I will do my very best to answer those questions, but also keep in mind that it is a working document. We are collecting information and we are subject to change as we move forward. So at this time, board members, I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
I have something, but it's not really a direct question to you, Dr. Potee, but it's
Okay.
regarding the safe return plan.
Yes.
Madam President, I would like to ask the policy committee to take a look at the COVID exposure policy that, and you may have been thinking about this already, but the policy when there is a quarantine. And so I say that because, I had a chance to sit back and think about it because there was an experience for me dealing with that. And if it's a low exposure, I think that the policy needs to have some ifs and buts and ands in it. Right now, we just have a straight 14-day quarantine. But I think that even with school going back into full session with everyone, running into an issue where we have a child out for 14 days because of this, and then all of a sudden there's exposure again, like an activity bus, and then they're out again, that could cause some attendance issues. But I think that with the policy that we have in place now, we have only a strict 14-day, but there's no buts, ifs, or ands in there. So I would like the policy committee to go back and maybe look at it and put some of those additional points in there to distinguish whether or not if it's a full 14-day or, you know, something else, maybe a 5-day. Like I said, I thought about this because I had experienced something where it was a low exposure from just being on an activity bus, no communication, mass war, but because the students sat behind the individual, they had to be quarantined for 14 days. And, you know, as a parent, I did, you know, do your due diligence to make sure that that 5-day window, get your child checked, you know, vaccinated, all those things, but I still had to, the students still had to remain home for 14 days because it was our policy in place. So that gave me time to really think about that because I was going through it directly myself. So I'm asking that the policy committee take a look at that policy and make some ands, ifs, and buts within it, and not just have a strict 14-day quarantine.
Okay, Ms. McClendon, I appreciate that information that you're sharing with us, and if I'm hearing you correctly, I think what you're asking the policy committee to do is to take a look at our policy as it exists, which is general, and perhaps place some qualifiers in there and some exceptions in there. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem.
Mrs. Pitts, before you do that, and policy committee, there are a couple of things I think you at least need to consider. One, the Winslow Township School District followed the science, and we also followed the recommendations of the Canyon County Department of Health.
Correct.
You may have a policy, but I think you also need to consider what are the health risks and recommendations. You also need to know that we had overwhelming support for the procedures that we had in place. We had very few or no resistance because I think the parents, for the most part, knew why we were doing what we were doing to keep safe. As a matter of fact, we did not have a spread in any of our schools this year. And we did not have to close any of our schools this year because of the position that we took on COVID and the spread of the COVID, as well as the quarantine. So I think the science, which we follow very closely, may change as we get closer to September. But I just want to recommend that the policy committee don't overlook what the science says, particularly as it continues to change up until September. So when you deliberate and have your discussions, I would just recommend that the science also have a major consideration in your decision making.
Well, not to worry, Dr. Poteet, because without a doubt, the policy committee, in taking up the suggestions from Ms. McClendon, certainly will be tracking very closely what the CDC says and what the public health says before we decide on any recommendations that we will bring to the full board.
And I agree with Dr. Poteet, what he said. Definitely take that into consideration. And maybe even a step a little further. Our nurses are in direct contact with the health department. And I think maybe some input from them as well, because they've seen some of the cases that we may have had throughout the school year. So I think maybe having a conversation with them as to how to proceed or how to input that policy would be beneficial to us as a board. So definitely, if we could.
Well, and I don't want to dispute Mrs. McClendon because I understand where you're coming from. The nurses have taken their direction from me as superintendent because I am the direct contact with the Canyon County Health Department. Everything goes through my office. I am the person who directed them to have that direct contact with the Canyon County Health Department. So I understand their conversation, their input, because they are nurses and they are health officials, but we all follow the same direction from the Camden County and the New Jersey Department of Health. So the direction is not going to be any different. As you've mentioned earlier, input from all stakeholders, but health officials and the Department of Education, it's all one of the same. So I wouldn't direct the nurses to do anything that I haven't already gotten direction from the health department. We all work together, and it's been consistent across the school district. So you may have a personal opinion, but if that opinion is in direct conflict with the direction we are receiving, it's really doesn't have an impact on what we're doing. It's either all or none. Either we're going to do it consistently across the district, or we're not going to do it at all. So I just want, and when you look at our plan, the first plan, the reopening of schools, the reopening of schools plan that we put in place last summer, when you go to contact tracing, the first thing it states that the superintendent will be that contact person with the Camden County Department of Health. And that worked for us, not that necessarily because of me, but that's the way we set it up. And the school nurses had that direct contact because that's the way we set it up. So again, I've been a stickler about safety, a stickler about health, and keeping everybody safe. I just want to just make sure the input from Mrs. McClendon and everyone else, I just want to make sure that whatever we do, Mrs. Pitts and Policy Committee, we make sure that the science is going to be a part of that decision-making, because we are lay people. And that's why I depended heavily on the Camden County Department of Health.
Well, Dr. Poteet, rest assured, without a doubt, that the Policy Committee certainly will have right out front, the considerations and the information that is handed down by our public health officials and the CDC.
Right.
Okay.
And I agree with you 100%, Dr. Poteet. I think we were saying the same exact thing. So
Yes,
I
yes.
definitely know that information is flowing down from the CDC to our nurses, to you. Like, I know that that's one big circle. So we're saying the same exact thing. We're on the same page with that.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed, don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to putting some scenarios in place, because I think as we go closer to September, you got more people who are vaccinated, because we already know that a fully vaccinated student, just like a fully vaccinated teacher, you don't have to quarantine. See, we already know that. If you are fully vaccinated, you don't have to quarantine.
Okay.
There are certain things in place you have to do. You can still be tested, that sort of thing. But a teacher who's fully vaccinated don't have to stay home from school. The students wouldn't have, but during that time, we didn't have students who were fully vaccinated, so everybody fell under the same umbrella. But there are different criteria, like we discussed during graduation. Fully vaccinated visitors versus non-vaccinated visitors, the criteria was totally different.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Poteet. Thank you, Ms. McClendon. We certainly, the Policy Committee will take all of those recommendations, suggestions into consideration. Okay, Dr. Poteet, you completed your information items?
I've concluded my
Okay.
information items, and I'm ready to address any questions you may have or questions from the community.
Any further questions, board members? Okay, now, board members, before we go into public comment, I just wanted to make a statement about the date of our retreat. We've all received the email that I passed on to you from Terry Lewis. And actually, just about everyone has responded, giving me an idea based on that Terry Lewis's email. And also, with the exception of one, I'm still waiting, and he knows who he is. And so, yes, Mr. Blake, I did not receive anything from you.
I emailed you. I'll check your email.
Email, the board email?
Mm-hmm.
You did that today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then perhaps I overlooked it in that case, if
He
indeed.
just sent it, Ms. Pitts. He just sent it 2 minutes ago.
Thank you, Ms. McClendon. Okay, so board members here again, because this is our last meeting of the month, we will not meet again until July 28th. Right now, based on what you all have responded, it appears that it's going to be August 2nd, but I will finalize that and send that out so that come our meeting, I see you frowning, I'm sorry, Mr. Shaw, but Terry Lewis is only, she's not available on any Saturdays, as you all read in her email. So therefore, right now, it appears that our retreat may take place on August 2nd, but we will finalize that date at our July 28th board meeting. Thank you, board members.
Madam President, I have one more thing to say.
Yes.
Well, first, Mr. Blake, I was just messing with you. I just said 2 minutes because Ms. Pitts said she didn't see it. But also, I just want to say great job to Dr. Potee and the administration for a beautiful graduation or move-up day for the middle school students. I thought that everything was well prepared and nicely done. And I don't know about any other board members that was there, but I kind of I know, Dr. Potee, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it anyway. I kind of enjoy the outside move up for the middle school as well. So I don't know if that's something we can look at maybe putting into place, but I thought that just the whole aura or the whole atmosphere was great. The weather was beautiful. The ceremony was good. You know, it just got me thinking like, hey, we could do this a little bit more often for the middle school as well. So just wanted to commend you guys for a great job, well done, especially with, you know, not a lot of time for preparation, but both the high school graduation as well as the middle school ceremony was beautiful. It was lovely to see in the setting. So.
Thank you, Ms. McClendon. Any more comments before we move into our public comment? All right, here we go, board members. The Winslow Township Board of Education highly values your input, the input of our citizens in making important decisions that affect the children of our community. We also believe in the rights of the citizens to observe our board meetings. To ensure that all of our citizens have the opportunity to attend school board meetings and offer comment, and to ensure that the board can conduct the important business of the district, we ask that speakers follow these guidelines in making public comments. The board president and board secretary will recognize those individuals in the audience who wish to make comments. Please respect these following procedures. 1, all members of the public attending school board meetings must treat each other and the board with respect. 2, kindly state your full name and address. 3, please limit your comments to 4 minutes. 4, kindly submit any of your questions that you may not have been able to get answered to the board with your name, address, and telephone number where you can be contacted. Your questions will be answered within a reasonable amount of time. And 5, individuals offering citizen comment are not permitted to make personal attacks on any district employee, board member, other testifier, or member of the public. At this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve our moving into public comment.
Yes, Madam President. Would like to make a motion to go into public comments.
McClendon, second.
Moved by Ms. Dredden, seconded by Ms. McClendon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you, board members. We are now in public comment. Ms. Boyle, is there anyone in queue?
Not at this time.
Okay, we will give the usual 4 minutes to see if anyone calls in. If not, then we will move on.
Madam President, someone just joined.
Okay, good.
Okay. Let me admit. Good evening, caller. You have joined the public comment section of the Winslow Township Board of Ed board meeting. If you would state and spell your name and give us your address, then you can make your comment to the board.
Joe Thomas, Joethomas, 16 Pinewood Lane, Sicklerville, New Jersey. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for doing a job well done this year. It's a great job. We got through it. It just proves that we got more in common than we not have in common, and we can get further when we all work together on it. Secondly, I'd like to thank Dr. Potee for using words like stakeholder, community, input, collaboration, survey, and working together. I'd like to also thank Julie Peterson for knowing how important it is to put our greatness on a wall or on a plaque for all to see in years to come. I think we're going down the right track. Great job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. It's always good to hear positive comments from our community.
All right, Madam President, there's nobody in the room, so I'll let you know if someone joins in.
Okay, we will wait another 2 minutes.
Madam President, while we are waiting, may I make a correction on one item of information that I shared?
Yes, Dr. Poteet, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, the summer school, when I mentioned grades 4, 5, and 6, I said that summer school was going to be at schools 5 and 6. It's only at school 6.
Oh, okay.
Only at school 6, not school 5. So I want to make that correction. But the parents will receive that information in the mail, so they'll know what school their child will be attending. But I wanted to publicly make that correction.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Poteet. Thank you.
Excuse me, if we don't have a caller, I had a question. I was not here when I should have asked this question. So I wanted to know, since we plan to return in person, will we resume things like back to school nights for parents and students? You know.
Yes, Mrs. Moore, the intent is to return back to as close as we can to normalcy.
Right.
What we can recall as being normal, even though I personally believe that we'll never be 100% the same because we've all been affected one way or the other. But yes, it is our intent to have all the activities that we've always had in our schools for the community and for the parents. So that is the plan, yes.
Okay, and one other thing, and I guess this comes under that, I know in the past we've had, like right before school started, where the students, especially I think at the high school, where they could come and they could visit the school or whatever. Will we try to do that this year?
Orientations we normally have, particularly for those 9th graders. Yes, we plan to have orientation for those youngsters before the opening of school. Usually happens a week before school opens. Again, I just need to put a blanket announcement on everything. We are planning to do everything we used to do prior to the pandemic.
Okay.
So we're going to try to plan accordingly. The only thing I want to caution us is, as the science continue to caution us, there's still a lot of people who are not vaccinated. There's another variant out there, particularly in some states where they have very, very low vaccination numbers. So at this point, we're just going to hope and pray that for us here in New Jersey, Winslow Township in particular, that we're not dealing with anything as far as a health issue is concerned so that we can move forward. But I have to continue to pay attention to that, because come September, if there's any changes that have to be made, I don't want it to be something so sudden that it disrupts everybody, like the situation we had back in March of 2020, because it was so abrupt. So I want to be able to keep everybody posted as we go along so that everybody will know, so we're all on the same page. No surprises.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Poteet, quick question, and this might be a Dr. Harkmo question. Summer school, is that for everybody who wants to participate or only selected students?
No. It was only selected students, and we identified those youngsters of the greatest need, those youngsters who were failing, very close to failing. Some of our young people, of course, with special needs. We do not have the staff or the capability to bring everybody back. So our target was, and our objective was, to identify those youngsters of the greatest need and at least try to address those youngsters. So it is not for everyone.
Okay, Ms. Boyle, do we have anyone in queue?
No, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Board members, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve adjourning public comment. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn public comments.
McClendon, second.
Been moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Board members, we are back into our regular session, and we do have an executive session, so I will turn this over to Mr. Long.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, everyone. If I missed you earlier, in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, on June 23rd, 2021 at 8:16 p.m., we will be entering into an executive session for the purpose of the 9 exceptions, number 8, discussing employment matters, evaluation, and performance. And in this case, it has to do with our chief school administrator, Dr. Poteet, which is an annual occurrence. And I would guesstimate that we may be in executive session for 45 minutes, where there may or may not be action taken coming out of executive session. I know under these circumstances, if I may articulate, I know Mrs. Boyle, Dr. Carcamo, and Mr. Davis do not join us. I believe it's just Dr. Poteet, myself, and the board. I've been appointed the responsibility to screen share some information. So we're about to go through a very frightening experience as I attempt to do that, but I did practice with IT for about an hour yesterday. So we'll see how this goes. Ms. Peterson did have faith that I could do this, but I don't have faith in myself. So there will be a screen share. So I believe IT will put us into a breakout room, and Mrs. Boyle, I promise to take copious minutes and provide you that information within a reasonable time frame.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Long. Board members, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve our moving into executive session. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President, a motion to go into executive session.
McClendon, second.
Moved by Ms. Dredden, second by Ms. McClendon. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Ms. Dredden,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McClendon,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
and Ms. Pitts.
Yes.
The motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle. Board members, we are now going to move into executive session. We'll see you in a few minutes. Enjoy your trip.
Hopefully we see something soon here.
Okay, we're all here.
Did you get moved? I don't believe you've been
Not
moved.
yet. We didn't move yet.
So we
Okay,
just don't do anything?
Nope, just stay
You
put.
have to wait.
So we just,
Boyle, if we're gonna stay like this, is fine. I just want to make sure there's no here we go.
Okay, it just
Yep,
came
yeah,
up.
You'll get a message.
Breakout
Yep.
room.
I think you're leaving now.
okay, breakout sessions have started. Join now.
Mrs. Boyle?
Yes. I
I
don't
didn't
think
get it.
you're in.
No, I didn't get a join now.
Look under, see how he did this. Doctor, you have a button that says participants on the bottom of your screen.
Yep.
Okay, hit that button and you should see on the side, you'll see breakout session. And it'll say join. It's not indicating which. Let me
It says
talk
show
off.
all breakout sessions, but it doesn't tell me to join.
Okay, hold on. I can see on the side, it says, on mine, it says join, but I'm calling the tech now.
Yeah, I have not been asked to join.
I'm trying to get it.
Yeah, Dr. Poteet's still with me, so he didn't get the message to join the breakout room.
Okay, I have it now, Mrs. Boyle.
You have it? Okay. All right. Now, Mike.
Just remember, you are on live stream YouTube.